This release and shift process is magic. Hi guys, my name is Lucy and this is the release and shift video to go with my journaling exercise PDF. It's just gonna give you some of the why, it's gonna give you some extra tools and basically take you step by step through how to do this process, how to release old patterns, how to shift your beliefs instantly. So like I said, there's a journaling PDF that you can download. I'll put it in the description below. But the first step before you even get into that journaling exercise is awareness. We have to be aware of what patterns are no longer serving us, what we're ready to let go of before we can actually let it go. You need to be able to notice the pattern is happening as it's happening. And to cultivate a greater sense of awareness, meditation is by far the greatest tool for this. When you're just sitting, you're observing your thoughts, you're training that awareness muscle to stop thinking that you are the thoughts and start to watch them go by like clouds in the sky, leaves in the stream. You get the idea. And so having some kind of silent meditation practice, I teach this in Into the Silence. You could, of course, just set a timer. Sit in silence is going to take your awareness to the next level. But even if you haven't trained your brain through silent meditation, I'm sure you have a sense of what you're ready to let go of, what is no longer serving you. Step one, awareness. The way I see it and say it when I catch a pattern that's no longer serving me, I think of it like I caught a fish. Like, this is a really good thing. It's like providence. Catching it, I would say, is almost 90% plus of the equation. So as soon as I catch myself like, oh, I'm worrying again, or oh, I'm rushing again, or oh, I'm being critical again, I go, ooh, I caught a fish. And I think that's really key, is just to create this like excited, positive attitude around catching patterns instead of being like, oh, I did it again, I judged myself, or I was negative about something, you know? So catch the pattern, catch that fish, and get excited about it. You've already done 90% of the work. And so step 2, or maybe it's step 1.5, is to label the pattern you've caught. So really like to put words to it, like, oh, I'm judging myself again, I'm rushing. Labeling things creates a little bit of space, it creates that pattern interrupt, and it shines that light on it. And when you put a pattern in the light of your awareness, like it can't hide anymore. It immediately kind of starts to shrink, and now it's in a place where you can really just say like, okay, thank you, goodbye. Once you've caught your pattern and you've labeled it, you've called it out like, oh, here's this old thing again, I like to use a phrase to kind of transition into the new belief. So I'll say things like, oh, that's just an idea, or that's an old dusty thought, or that's an old program, an old pattern, it's on its way out. Kind of making it almost like no big deal, or just like dust, just silly, like, oh, that again, so silly. A phrase I like to add on to these kinds of statements is, I don't do that anymore. Like, I don't do time scarcity anymore. I don't do people pleasing anymore. I don't do body criticism anymore. That's just not even, that's not me. That's not my thing. I don't do that anymore. Write that one down. Essentially, what you're doing is you're removing the gravity, the weight from things. You're taking away its validity and your investment, your belief in it, by making it feel kind of like small, inconsequential, old news, so yesterday, yeah, whatever. You know, that's the vibe of it. And it makes it much easier to just drop it, to let it go, to no longer have it be a central player in your life experience. So an example would be, maybe you have an event, you have a plan, you have a date coming up, and you're feeling really nervous or anxious. You feel old insecurities popping up. You would recognize that and be like, oh, I've felt that before, this recurring pattern. And then you could call it out, you could give it a label and say, I don't do that anymore. Like, oh, hello, insecurity. I don't do that anymore. I don't play that game anymore. Like, I'm too cool for that shit. I love myself too much to put myself through the ringer of that, you know, tightness and nervousness or fear. Like, I want to enjoy myself. And basically what you do in that moment through the pattern interrupt, the pattern that was just gonna run its track all of a sudden goes, you hit the brakes on it. And this is where the next equally important part comes in, and that's to say what you do now, to claim your new identity, to write your new script, and to program your new pattern into your way of being. So I would say, oh, I don't do that kind of tight, fear-mongering insecurity and nervousness before events, dates, interviews, things like that. Instead, I do calm, I do trust, I do expecting the best. And in the journaling PDF, you're gonna have space to write those things out. And I will say, especially when you're first kind of teaching yourself this trick, this process, writing things down is super helpful. And then eventually you'll get to the place where you can flip it on the fly so that anytime it comes up, you're just like, I don't do that anymore. I do calm, I do trust, I do relaxation, I do expecting the best. That's just who I am. That's the game I do play. That's me. And the thing is, if this is a pattern you've been doing your whole life, you may need to remind yourself multiple times. It may come up like on a daily basis, weekly, monthly, yearly, you know, and just being so kind and patient with yourself, remembering every time you catch it, it's a win. And really adopting that attitude of just like, I'm over this, I'm too good for this, is really gonna help you just let it go and release attachment. And then to say what you do is gonna give your brain and your body a place to focus all that energy that you've just liberated. One thing I will say is that I've always been shocked with how well this process works. Like if you're really willing to just drop something and let it go, release your attachment to it, sometimes it just takes one shift or, you know, 2 or 3 maybe tops, and all of a sudden it's not really a player in your experience. And when it does come up again, you're like, that's literally ridiculous. I can't believe I ever like put myself through that or let that kind of run its track so unnecessarily. And so a couple of patterns I've caught, a big one is like rushing to do things, like time scarcity, time pressure. And I'll just say, I don't do rushing. I don't do that anymore. I do trusting the timing. I do the mantra, I'm always on perfect timing. There is no rush. And let me tell you, I'm always on perfect timing. I always arrive at the perfect time. And so like literally, but you can add on a mantra at the end too to kind of anchor it in. I'm a time abundant person, period. Another one is like pressure around creating and stuff. I did that to myself for years before I was like, I could just create without feeling pressure. Oof, what? Crazy. Sometimes you just need to know about a new possibility to let it into your life. And I realized it was a choice. Almost everything that's going on in here is a choice. I would say literally everything that's going on in here is a choice. Some things have more momentum, they're harder to control, but over time, you can let anything go. Another one was stressing about what to make for dinner. Eventually I was like, why am I doing that? Like, I'm gonna make dinner anyway. Why am I adding in this stress component? What I do is I expect that I'll always have something to make, know what to make, it'll be easy, put a TV show on, like I'm just gonna have a good experience. That's what I do. I don't do stress about dinner. So boring. Why would you do that? And so you'll know for you what patterns are players that are just like, they're already kind of on their way out. You're already just a little bit like, this is ridiculous. And this process is gonna help you kind of structure that final goodbye, that send off, bless you, and move you into that new space where you really realize your freedom to choose, your freedom to create. And just because everyone else is having an experience of something, or you've always had a certain experience of something in the past, doesn't mean it needs to continue. You can literally be new. And this release and shift process is magic. It just works. No matter how often I use it, I'm still kind of shocked by how well it works. I'm like, oh, it worked again. Wow, that's great. Fantastic. To summarize, first, you're aware that an old pattern's running. It doesn't feel good. It feels tight, sticky, uncomfortable, heavy, whatever. You catch it and you're like, oh, sweet, I caught it. I caught a fish. And then you give it a label maybe, and you say, I don't do that anymore. That's old news. I don't play that game anymore. And then you say what you do. It's very simple. You can add on a mantra, you can visualize yourself doing it, but really it's just making that conscious choice. Now it's time to download your PDF journal exercise. You can just look at it on your screen and do it in your own journal, or you can print it out. Like I said earlier, I think it is good to do writing in the beginning. It just keeps your focus on tasks, but over time you will get better at it and you will be able to just do it on the fly of just a quick little catch and release. Nuh-uh, I don't do that anymore. Goodbye, see ya. And of course, anytime you need that reminder, you can come back to this video. I'm here for you. I also have my course Into the Silence where I teach you how to get really comfortable sitting in silence, just chilling in the void. It's my favorite place. Come hang with me there. And then also Manifest You, which is kind of like the part 2 of that. The Into the Silence is almost like that I don't do part where you're able to catch patterns to see what's going on. And then Manifest You is all about building that new blueprint, deciding like, this is who I want to be, this is who I am and how I want to show up in the world, and just freaking practicing that until it's just what it is, your modus operandi. Remember, you are powerful. You get to choose. Like, it's all happening up here, baby. Don't let anyone else tell you what's possible for you. You can have a completely new experience of yourself. Change can be easy. Releasing patterns can be easy. Feeling good can be easy. Like, start to claim that for yourself. Now, when you learn something is the best time to put it into action. Do it immediately. Like if you see someone who's like doing a healthy workout routine and you're like, I want to be healthier too. Like in that moment, do something they're doing or implement what you're inspired to do. Now is the time. I'll include any relevant meditations, online courses, resources in the description below this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow me on Spotify too, Purely Being Guided Meditations. I am sending so much love your way. You got this. It's so easy. You're a master, and have the best day ever. Bye.